When it comes to the overall video production process, topics surrounding organization and file storage aren't the most glamorous to discuss, but they can often be one of the most important overlooked aspects of the post-production process. I myself am guilty of overlooking this super important step in finishing a video project, and since I'm the type of person who likes to hoard footage and save pretty much everything, it means I'm constantly having to shell out money for expensive hard drives, and I'm constantly shuffling around media between my hard drives and my computer at the end of a project just to make space for the next one. What if I told you there was a way to keep all your necessary footage at the end of each project while at the same time freeing up space on your hard drive and computer, and in the long run saving valuable time and money? Well, there is, and it's called media management. Today I'm going to explain to you how I media manage my projects in DaVinci Resolve, and by the end of this video you should have all the necessary tools to free up valuable space on your own hard drive, save yourself from having to constantly go out and buy more removable storage, and instead spend that hard-earned cash on valuable filmmaking tools and gear. First, what is media management? Media management is the process of trimming down files to only the ones used in a final edit sequence or any collection of sequences, while at the same time deleting any unused media or assets eating up space on your hard drive or computer. You can do this in basically any video editing software. I'm going to show you how to do it in DaVinci Resolve because that's my main editor. I use that program more than any other video editing software these days, and it also happens to be my favorite program to media manage in, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that a little later on in the video. But without further ado, let's jump into DaVinci Resolve and I can show you how media management works. Alright, so here we are in DaVinci Resolve. What you're looking at is the final edit sequence for my latest YouTube video. Our objective here is to media manage this sequence and end up with only the media that's contained in the final sequence itself, plus a little extra. This project is very large. It contains a lot of source media and takes up a lot of space on both my computer and hard drive. So not only do I want to shrink the size of the entire project, but I also want to consolidate media into one place. To start that process, we just need to go to File and Media Management. Then our Media Management dialog box will show up, and I'm just going to unclick a few things that were already checked because I've media managed this before. Right away we see, if we're on the entire project tab, that our current size of the entire project is just over 700 gigabytes. You can choose to media manage the entire project, but I want to go one step further and just restrict our media management to the final edit sequence for the video. So I'm going to go over to timelines, and here we see a list of timelines. We want to select the sequence that we would like to media manage, which is Contemporary Art Lens Edit V5, and I'm going to make sure we're on copy. Transcode will convert the footage into another format. Since I shoot in Blackmagic RAW, the B-roll I shoot was on the Sigma FP, which was in Cinema DNG, another RAW format. I want to keep my resulting files in those formats. And that brings us to why I love DaVinci Resolve as a media management program. I haven't seen any other video editing software that will allow you to media manage projects and retain the source media in its original RAW format. I know Premiere forces you to transcode to some other format. It will not save and trim Red RAW files, Blackmagic RAW files, Cinema DNG files. DaVinci Resolve lets you do that, which is pretty amazing. So just another reason why I choose to go with Resolve for most of my editing needs. Right now we see the current size of this sequence is just under 360 gigabytes, which is still pretty sizable. I want to see if we can get it down even smaller. So to do that, under this copy parameter, we're going to go to Use Media and Trim, keeping a certain number of frame handles. And instantly, when I have that selected, you can see that the total size, or the new size of the media managed project, jumps way down from 354 gigabytes to approximately 56 gigabytes. So that means when the media management is finished, we will have access to all the media that was used in this final sequence, plus 2 seconds on each end. That's what the 48 frame handles indicates. That's a huge improvement over our 360 gigabyte media size. We're really just whittling down to the absolute essentials, but still giving us some leeway on either end of every single clip asset. Moving on to some of these other options, I'm going to ensure that Use Project Name subfolder is checked. This just creates a folder within whatever location I decide to dump these media managed project files into. Consolidate multiple edit segments into one file, I will not check that. When I check this, the size of the new size of the project jumps up to over 230 gigs. That's because now it's saving entire source files which have multiple smaller clips selected from them for use in my final sequence. My main objective here is to reduce the total file size of this project or this timeline. So I'm going to keep that unchecked. It's going to result in, multiple source clips for, what was originally part of a single source clip, but I'm okay with that as long as it keeps my resulting file size small. And lastly, preserve hierarchy after 0 folder levels. I'm going to keep that checked. That just just preserves the folder structure of my original project folder structure in Finder, making it a little easier to reconnect files once I open the resulting DaVinci Resolve timeline file after the project is successfully media managed. I'm going to pick a destination for these media managed files on my computer. I'm going to hit browse. I've created a folder called media managed here, and I'm going to select that and open that, and then all that's left to do is to hit start, and we'll let the media management do its thing.
5 minutes later.
All right, here we are, less than 5 minutes. The program just kicks you right out of the media management dialog window. There is no like finished or click OK to continue prompt. The only thing left to do is to see the results in Finder. So I'm going to go to Finder here, navigate to where we put our files, and then here we see is that subfolder I asked it to create. And then within that, we have our DaVinci Resolve timeline file, or DRT, and then folders containing our media. The folder structure inside of these folders containing our media is exactly as it was for the project. So it's a little annoying to go back and access footage, but it also will make it that much easier to reconnect media once we utilize this DRT file. Before we do that, I want to show you the final resulting size of our media managed project, which is just under 60 gigabytes. In order to utilize that DRT file, you just have to go back into Resolve. So we're going to do that. We hit Shift 1 to open up our project window. You're going to have to create a new project to import that DaVinci Resolve timeline file into. So I'm going to hit New Project here. I'm going to title this the same as the old project, YouTube Sigma Lens Comparison. But now I'm going to add at the end to signal media managed, so I know what that project is. I'm going to hit create, then the project will open. It's going to open on the edit page. I'm going to go to the media page. To import my timeline, I'm going to right click in the bin area, go to timelines, import, and then select this first option. Alternatively, I can hit Command Shift I to import any timeline. Then I'm going to navigate to that media managed folder, then select my DRT or DaVinci Resolve timeline and hit open. It's going to ask me if I want to change the project frame rate, which I do. I want the project frame rate to be that of the footage I'm importing. So I'm going to hit change. And then immediately you see the sequence that we just media managed pop up. And it's got all my media, all my graphics, all my sound effects, all my video elements, all my A-roll, just perfectly as I left it. The difference being that I only have these clips plus 2 seconds of handles on either end, and that's it. No extra long takes of A-roll, no unused B-roll. It's just nice and fine and consolidated like we wanted. The one thing I do want to caveat, as you can probably see, all of these clips, or for the majority of them, are uncolored. The reason for that being that DaVinci Resolve, when you export a timeline, does not retain the groups that each of these clips are in. So what you will have to do is first save your grades. Save every grade that you have made, including the group ones, before you media manage or delete your original project. Put them in your Power Grades folder so that they're accessible across all your DaVinci Resolve projects, and then regroup your clips and apply those grades. Yes, it's a pretty annoying step. All right, future Dylan here. So I realized after recording this video how annoying it actually is to have to recreate your groups, save your Power Grades from the project, reapply them. And I figured there had to be a better way. And turns out there is. Right now, I'm going to show you an even better way to media manage your project in DaVinci Resolve, and it happens to be using that method we skipped over right at the beginning of this video in media managing the entire project. All right, so here we are in DaVinci Resolve again. We're looking at the final edit sequence for a different project. Our goal is the same. We're trying to media manage this project, whittle it down to only the essential footage, but this time, before going to the media management window, since we're media managing the whole project, we want to whittle this project down to only the sequences that we need. So the first thing I'm going to do is duplicate this project by saving it as something else. I'm going to hit Command Shift S. Instead of having copy at the end, I'm going to type for media management, and then hit save, just in case anything goes wrong and I don't want to mess anything up. So once that saves, we have our new project here, which is a duplicate of the old one. And I'm going to go to our media pool and delete any unwanted sequences that I don't want to keep in the final media managed project. So I'm going to delete any unwanted timelines, go into sequences here, delete all these assembly sequences. And once all our unwanted sequences are deleted, we can close the media pool, and then we're ready to media manage. So we're going to go up to File, Media Management, as we did before. And this time, instead of navigating over to timelines, we're going to stay in this entire project tab. All the other settings are going to remain mostly the same. We're going to stay on copy. There's a new option here that I'm going to want to make sure is checked, called Relink to New Files. Since we're managing an entire project, there isn't going to be a resulting DRT file or even a DaVinci Resolve project file file, it's just going to trim the files as we've asked it to and move them to a new location, but also relink this current project to those files in that new location. So this is why this method is so much better than managing by timeline, because you are allowed to keep the project as it is with only the sequences that you want, but you're also able to keep all of your grades, your grouping, your organization in the color page without having to touch anything. So it's light years ahead of the other one. Up until this point, I've been using the DaVinci Resolve timeline media management feature, but going forward, I think I'm going to use this one just because there's such a huge benefit. So we see here, just as before, we have our current size visible. It's just over 400 gigs. This was a big one as well. By trimming our only the used files, we can bring it down to 83.69 gigs approximately. So that's, again, a huge savings on space. Last step is picking a location to media manage these files to. I'm going to put them in my main projects folder, just in the root there. And then the only thing left is to hit start.
20 minutes later.
All right, after a little bit, the project is finished. That actually took a little longer than previous ones. I think it's because I was media managing from C rugged drives, not from solid state drives as I was before. We can go over to Finder, and if we do a quick information there, it's just over 90 gigs, reducing the project from just over 400 gigs to about 90 gigs, which is awesome, freeing up a lot of space. The big difference now is that this project is all set to go. There's no need to import a DaVinci Resolve timeline file. There's no need to create a new project to import it. You can delete your old project, the one that we copied from. You can delete your old source media because all necessary media has been copied to this new location. And if we go back into the project and we zoom in on the timeline level, I didn't show this in the previous example, but the handles are there. We can click on this edit point, slide it 2 seconds in either direction. So we have nice leeway there to play with the files that we saved. And the best part is, if we go over to the color page, all the grades are still there. All the grouping is still there. No need to save power grades, reorganize, regroup. It's just 100 times better than doing it the other way. So as you can see, way better than the other method. I had to get that in there for you guys. I don't think I'll ever go back to just managing it by timeline. This is just much easier. All right, future Dylan out. I'll let past Dylan wrap it up. All right, hope you enjoyed that. Hope you learned something. Be sure to like this video, it really helps me out. And consider subscribing for more videos just like this on video production, post-production, and cinematography. Keep creating, keep engaging, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks. Bye.